Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and today I bring you yet another movie attempting to cash in on the Matrix. By Miramax, no less. While this studio isn't the fly-by-night operation that the Asylum is, or even as low-budget as Full Moon, they still aren't quite up there with the big dogs like Fox or Warner Brothers, and the siren song of cold hard cash is a tough one for them to pass up. Pretty much like any business, but while Miramax was willing to fund whatever it took to boost the status of their studio, they weren't exactly capable of affording anything too extravagant, which brings us to today's movie, Cypher. Set in the not-too-distant future, Cypher, or Brainstorm, depending on which country's version you're looking at, is a low-budget sci-fi thriller in a world ambiguously controlled by two competing megacorporations. Or not. I think that's what it is, but it isn't exactly an easy movie to follow, and all the build-up and exposition regarding the twists in the life of the lead character don't do much to detail what exactly it is that either opposing company does, other than conduct industrial espionage. But the movie business isn't about the little things, it's about the big picture. Then again, that's a quote from Ed Wood, so no. Maybe that's not the best thing to go on. Never mind that. Let's take a look at Cypher and try to figure out what the fuck is going on. Aside from Miramax trying to make a buck. As the film opens, we are immediately introduced to the focus of this tale, Morgan Sullivan, played by Jeremy Northam. He's a recently laid-off miscellaneous businessman, so he takes the first interview he could find, being a corporate spy.
It might have taken me quite a while to get to this point, Mr. Finster, but now that I'm here, I'm gonna make the most of it.
How the fuck long could it have taken? You've been out of work for what, 2 weeks? 2 months at most, and where did you find this opening? Advertised in a newspaper?
It'll be like nothing you've ever done before.
Oh, I'm prepared for that.
Do I really have to say it?
You will be sent to conventions across the country.
So, he's spying on nerds?
You don't mind lying to your wife?
Well, there was one time I made her mac and cheese, and I didn't tell her I used Velveeta.
This is Finster, played by Neil Bennett, whom gives Morgan the basic spy orientation, but no real training or tests to see if he knows what the fuck he's doing before they give him a new identity and send him off on his first super important spy mission.
What's he like?
Pardon?
What's his personality?
Red flags everywhere! Your new corporate spy looks like he can't comprehend Sesame Street! And while I appreciate the artistic approach to the way the world is presented, it does mean that there is no chance that things will suddenly take a turn for the weird when whatever the truth is begins to unravel, because, well, just look at this world. I've seen some sterile depictions of society, but this movie makes 1984 look like Moulin Rouge. Never mind that, on with the spy plot. Mission 1 is to secure the briefcase from the men's bathroom. You had one job, Morgan! Fortunately, he's got it set to easy mode, and there happened to be a different briefcase for him. Feeling victorious, he celebrates this with a drink.
I'll have a ginger ale.
For fuck's sake, this guy's so bland he could compose soothing dubstep. However, he remembers he's not Morgan Sullivan right now, but Jack Thursby, a slightly less mundane man, and he dares to live on the edge by instead drinking scotch.
Single malt. On the rocks.
Considering this is set in the not-too-distant future, though, that drink likely cost him more than he was going to be paid for this espionage. Now that he's arrived at his destination, he spots Lucy Liu standing by an ice machine. The ridiculously obvious important character that we don't detail at all at this point, therefore when she shows up later and is pivotal to what's going on, fortunately we already recognize her from that time that she was getting ice from the machine for no apparent reason. Forget all of that for a second. We've reached this super important secret presentation that Morgan will now transmit back to headquarters.
Shaving cream users will adopt a brand and remain loyal to it.
Especially interesting to note is the difference in methods used to penetrate that market. Because these two methods employed by the respective companies...
You know, shit must be boring as fuck if it actually makes the styrofoam golem go to sleep. Which explains why everyone at this meeting is enthralled by the worldly tales of international adventurer Jack Thursby.
Cohibas. My favorite brand. Thank you.
just because you've taken on an alternate persona, that doesn't mean that all this shit you're doing to your body is no longer unhealthy. In his desire to make as many bad decisions in as little time as possible, he spots Lucy Liu playing the role of Rita Foster at the bar.
So what do you do besides travel to dull cities and talk to women in hotel bars?
I play golf.
Are you any good?
No.
Honesty, I like that.
Well, in that case, you got nice tits.
She is less accepting of his completely obvious wedding ring, causing him to leave her presence in shame. Still, the bumbling spy somehow manages to pull off the job, so they've lined him up for another one. And that happens. You try describing it. Now that he's been out of the house a total of 1 time, somehow that's enough to cause some severe problems in his marriage.
I'll call my father tonight and we'll...
Tell your father to go fuck himself.
Oh, what did you say to me, mister? Oh, you are gonna get it! So we see he very quickly discards the clean and sterile life of Morgan Sullivan to embrace the adventurous path of Jack Thursby. Or what he considers adventure, anyway.
I'm going to pee standing up. And I won't even put the toilet seat back down.
Another mindfuck later, and Morgan spots Rita, leading to a scene that dumps a shit ton more information in our laps really fast.
Do not send the transmission to Digicore. If you tell Digicore you met me, they'll kill you. Take 2 every 6 hours. It'll get rid of the nightmares you've been having.
By information, I mean, at least we know there's something else going on beyond what we've seen for the first 20 minutes, and there's some hope that the rest of the movie will not just be us watching Morgan be amazed that they make potato chips with ruffles.
Now, at the risk of oversimplifying, the question facing the average manufacturer of processed cheese...
Or not. Still, he listens to the mystery lady and does not transmit the signal. This leads to a very strange conversation with Digicore.
Your transmission came through perfectly, just as clear as the last time.
So either they didn't actually check, or his earlier transmission was complete shit and they honestly couldn't tell the difference. We get another seizure-inducing transition, which somehow Morgan manages to snap out of in time to take the red pills. Now, spoken like that sounding an awful lot more like a direct ripoff of The Matrix. But anyway, he gets an odd note at random, and cracking the code, it's actually Rita's number.
Hello, Mr. Sullivan. You've dialed a special number that cannot be traced or monitored.
Oh, of course. In this crazy future world of corporate espionage and spy versus spy, there are landline phones that just can't be traced because they can't. And, also, it's a hell of a lot of shit to go through just to get a woman's number. Anyway, she tells him to take the service elevator, and he has 5 minutes. Fortunately, even the janitor is in on it, so he knows where to go. It turns out that not just he, but every fucking buddy at the conventions were so-called spies for Digicore, and the crazy scene transitions are the results of the narcotics the mineral water at the shows have been spiked with. So he's got to take the antidote/vaccine or whatever. Also, no explanation to exactly what it is, or why they can cure his symptoms with little red pills, but to immunize him, they need a fucking weapons-grade syringe from Amazing Nurse Nanako. Before he can get back, though, Rita has to warn him that if he acts like he's not drugged, they will kill him.
No matter what you see, do not move.
What will I see?
Well, considering what I watched last week, it can't be all that shocking. Nope, it's just a generic animation to try and weed out those who might be alert, and once they determine that everyone is unaware, they take the opportunity to beta test the new prototype Oculus Rift, brought to you by Facebook.
You are not Sullivan. You are not married. Your wife is Diane Thursby.
Which is actually kind of a letdown. I was expecting something kind of disturbing and potentially damaging from this scene. You know, like this. After the presentation concludes, we get wonky camera effects to signify his disorientation. Fortunately, random unimportant old lady is also in on it, and gives Morgan the phone so he can hear how he's supposed to pretend that he is brainwashed into believing himself to be Jack Thursby at this point. A quick question while we're at it. Is anyone in this movie not a spy? In any case, he passes the pop quiz with flying colors, and after being knocked out yet again, he awakens in his new home with his new dog and his new wife. Of course, his new life is a lot like his old life. Spare, instead of going off for an interview at Digicore, he's heading to work for Sunway Systems, developers of the Sun thing. Well, they're in the same market as Digicore, who make stuff. As with the first interview, they probe his brain while he answers a few questions, but this time the results are not so clean.
You're lying when you say that your name is Jack Thursby. You're lying when you say that you are not an undercover agent. And you are lying when you say that you do not work for Digicore.
Have you ever had oral sex? You said no. The lie detector determined that's a lie.
And I cannot tell you how happy that makes us.
Of course, because now that you know he's a spy, you can just shoot him in the head and leave his body in the dumpster out back. Saves a lot of time. No, wait, they like that he is a non-brainwashed Digicore spy, as for some reason if their brain scans ever show you are telling the truth and no threat, that's when they don't bother answering your calls anymore. And the reason Digicore didn't just send a non-brainwashed guy in the first place is because they couldn't get past the scan. That he just got past, and, yeah. The reason they want him is so they can turn him into a double agent, or an intern? Yeah, I'm having a hard time keeping up with this. But he pretends to work for Sunway Systems, when in truth, he is actually working for Sunway Systems. I'm beginning to see a flaw in the plan here. Or rather, what he leaves around for his placeholder wife to discover are what Digicore thinks is miscellaneous important data pieces, while Sunway is actually gathering intel on Digicore's spy operation itself, which they pretty much already seem to know how it works, so whatever. Fortunately, Morgan starts doing things for himself for once, and decides maybe he should contact Rita and get out of this stagnant plot line.
You said I could trust you. I believed you when you said that.
Meet me at the car wash at 4th and Jefferson in 3 hours.
Is it safe?
Oh, don't worry. Everyone at the car wash is in on it, as well as the entire pizza parlor across the street.
From her, he learns that he has a friend in Mystery Man Sebastian Rooks, who allegedly helped Sunway Systems out by delivering his non-brainwashed ass to their door. Because the entire population is spies? But has taken pity on his situation, and promises to show up in Wichita, where they swear Sunway will eventually send him. Emphasis on eventually, as first they have to send him all over the country for menial tasks, such as getting a few bytes of data from Charles Darwin over here, and appear as if he is climbing the ranks in Sunway.
In reality, Digicore is the loser. Sunways is feeding them corrupt data that will sabotage their operations.
Which, despite them checking every single disk for several months, they never seem to figure out. Working for Sunways isn't so good if you're looking at their retirement package, however.
Once this operation is complete, they will eliminate you.
Still not as bad as retail. Nevertheless, it's on to Wichita, and a funky transition, leading him to wake up in bed with Lucy Liu. So I don't know what happened that brought him here, but damn, I wish I could have seen it. She's there on business, and there is a different disk that must be switched out with the one Sunways has provided. Why she didn't just switch it herself while he was unconscious, I don't know, but then again, I'm not an amazing super spy like her, or anyone else randomly walking around in this movie. She also says after they pick him up later, the two of them can never see each other again, so... And we don't get to see that either. Actually kind of surprising. I mean, there's spy cameras everywhere in this world. Just because we're heading for what should be considered a climax, that doesn't mean it's too late for yet another plot twist.
Settle down, Mr. Sullivan. We have a long ride ahead of us.
It turns out that Digicore knew he wasn't brainwashed all along! Which means all that shit that they did before sending him to Sunways was a fucking waste of time. It turns out that he was being manipulated by Sebastian Rooks about one scene earlier than previously speculated.
He paid me to hire you, so you could be his pawn.
And you agreed why? The entire population of this world is spies, and you didn't think to maybe question his motives?
Well, you didn't think I hired you because I was impressed by you, did you?
Okay, that part makes sense. Strangely, Rooks did explain to Finster ahead of time that the disk that was handed to Morgan happens to contain a search parameter for a specific data file in the home base web thing, which will seek out, copy, and delete said file.
His plan was foolproof. Except for one factor he failed to consider. Me.
Yeah, he really failed to consider that. That explains why he exposited all that information to you, presumably before the opening credits. He explains that Rooks is the most dangerous man in the business. Thus, Morgan will be killed anyway, unless he changes sides yet again and delivers the disc to him instead of Rooks, in which case they'll let him live.
There's only one person Rooks trusts with his identity. Rita Foster, his lover.
And unless there's swingers, he should probably rethink that trust a little bit. Point is, everyone wants him dead except Digicor. Probably. Pinky swear. So, handing him a phone number just in case, Morgan heads to the big secret ultra data warehouse of Sunway Systems. Wow, I know it's low budget, but I did expect this super high-tech secret location to be a little more impressive. Big robotic dick. I guess that's better. Emerging from the metallic phallus, we are introduced to David Hewlett playing the role of Sunway Systems' one and only guy in charge of the most important underground data facility, Virgil Dunn. Evidently, the super advanced technological data vault is wall-to-wall somethings that contain data. Lots of data. How much data, you ask?
1 million megabytes.
Remember, this movie's from 2002. These people would shit their pants at the sight of a smartphone. He hands the disc over no problem, but unfortunately, supercomputers have to wait for the CGI animation to finish before the primordial Google search works, so Virgil shoots the breeze with Morgan, and coincidentally enough, he happens to be an ex-counter spy.
You put me in a room with a possible double agent. Let me ask him a couple of questions, and I could tell you right there whether he was a spy or not.
Of course, it helps that he could just say, yes, he's a spy, every time, and still have 100% accuracy.
For example, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yep, he got past all those security measures involving computers that could literally read your mind, only to get found out by John Henry here. Still, he fucks around asking mundane things to show off his biological polygraph abilities, despite the fact that he already noticed Morgan got a bit tense after the disc was inserted.
One last question. Right?
Sure.
Are you a double agent?
No, he was working for Digicor to spy on Sunway. Then he was working for Sunway against Digicor, and now he's working for Digicor again, so... a triple agent? It's bad. Just kill him already. And this super secret vault with all the important data in the world saves money by having no security cameras or animal guards in those two at the front. Seriously, nobody notices this, and he easily makes it to the elevator before Virgil catches up, telling us no, they didn't even bother to install an intercom system here either. They did at least think of one feature convenient to the plot. The emergency stop on the insanely fast bullet elevator. Come to think of it, how the fuck down are they? And why is this the only place in the world that has ridiculously advanced technology? The movie tries to be exciting, but I don't believe for a second nobody saw that guy would escape the elevator in the nick of time, but before he can get out, it starts coming back up. You need something more creative than that. That'll do. But it does beg the question of how exactly she knew where the location of this super secret base was. There was the giant metallic penis. Might have made things a little more obvious than they were wanting.
Brooks is back at the hotel. He's looking forward to seeing you.
Oh, yeah. Right, the whole death thing. Whoops. Back at Rook's place, Rita leaves the chain, so of course Morgan panics, calling Finster to come save him from that psychopath Rooks. Continuing to lose his shit, he holds Rita up at gunpoint and demands... something. Mainly, he just talks like he's batshit crazy.
I can't believe I thought you actually cared about me. I'm such a fool.
I do care about
Oh no! I can't believe I missed all your vital organs! Hold on a sec. Stop squirming! No reason to be consistent, though, as now he bothers to listen to her and willingly goes off to meet Sebastian Rooks. But instead, he runs into the big twist of this movie. Which, as far as big twists go, wasn't too bad. You could have predicted it going in, but it was never oppressively obvious, and it does make sense. Well, as long as what's on that disc warrants going through all this shit in order to get it. Which is all well and good, except, whoops, he shot his wife and called Digicore, so they've shown up looking to kill the fuck out of him for the disc, as well as Sunway for some reason. Fortunately, they happen to have a spare bulletproof helicopter on the roof for just such an emergency. And it's perfectly normal to set your house to explode before you go off on an amazing brainwash adventure. And why did those guys have to die? What did they do? It would have maybe helped a little if you explained what either of their companies even did besides just being companies. Never mind that. Happy ending! Rooks and Rita head off to the South Pacific for some sailing, which tells me all those visions earlier were not memories but future premonitions, and we finally learn what the fuck was on the disc.
It's you.
Okay, so there was an order to kill her. Locked away in a big underground vault with only one copy, so they couldn't have wanted to do it too badly. And how the hell did you know it was there without prior access? Also, according to the text blurb there, they wanted to kill her so they could get to you, so still really haven't solved that problem.
Now there's no copy at all.
Again, how does this solve anything? If the entire company wants her dead, then how is deleting one file from somewhere supposed to change that? That was Cypher, and actually it wasn't too bad. There are problems, of course, but for a low-budget movie built to ride the coattails of The Matrix, it actually has some pretty good stuff in it, if I'm to be honest. For starters, the lead, Jeremy Northam, while not giving Oscar-begging performances, does a pretty damn good job with the role. The specific traits between Morgan Sullivan, his transformation into his own vision of Jack Thursby, and the eventual discovery of his identity as Sebastian Rooks gives us three distinct characters all rooted in the same man, and he makes it work. Everyone else on set is, forgettable. They don't do bad jobs, but there's nothing special about any performance outside of the lead role. Lucy Liu is the only other person on set who got a semi-deep character, but never got to show much of a range of emotion. But as with any espionage plot, the specific twists and eventual reveal of the truth are drastically important, and in that regard, Cypher did an admirable job. There are points you can look at as being illogical, like why Rooks had to brainwash himself and not just get a pawn, or why the entire first half was even needed when the job at Sunways could only be gained from not being brainwashed, and it's not like anyone knew what Rooks looked like until the end, when he killed them, which I also don't know why it happened. But the point is, all the big twists and secrets actually do come together to form a cohesive story. That's so rare in these movies, honestly, that I find it a lot easier to forgive the dozens of problems with it when you examine the plot atom for atom. The movie starts off confusing and kind of bland, but picks up and becomes genuinely interesting when the facts start popping up and actually are consistent with what we've been shown. Overall, Cypher is a low-budget flick for fans of low-budget flicks. It won't win any awards or be remembered for the ages, but it's still a pretty damn nicely put-together film, with an interesting plot that is tragically lacking in the interesting world details needed to make it truly memorable, coming in at 3 so-not Windows logos out of 5. Now, it does make me wonder, how am I going to stop beating around the bush and just review the fucking Matrix already? Now, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, if a major faction wants a major character dead in your movie, it helps to explain why. Or even what the hell they do.
isn't Jameson, it's Morgan Sullivan.